right in the heart of Soul Bullet.
Try to build a foundation with your kid. Um, and the reason I say that is because sometimes people get in the way of the bond, but when you have time, you need to set the standards of who you are as a parent. Like, this is how I live. This is how, we do things over here. Um, this is how my standard of taking care of you when you're with me is. You get what I'm saying? Um, sometimes, the kids are comfortable with what's going on in the other household, and they need some of those similar reminders to make them comfortable sometimes they don't, but you play that by ear as it goes. As they get older and they can comprehend more, you build a foundation of trust, like, um how can teaching delayed gratification, teaching kids skills, that they'll use later, making them learn things that give them confidence and make them proud of themselves. And that's part of building a foundation, because then they can trust you to teach them things to get better. Along with that, you're going to have to inform them of who you are. A lot of times, and that happened with us as children too. We didn't really know our parents. We learned of our parents through other family members. So teach your kid about you. Teach them about you. Like, this is where I was born. This is where I grew up. This was the family dynamic. This is where I went to school. These are the activities I was in. This is my temperament. These are some of my principles, and you know, and these are some of the reasons why I am the way I am. You start, as they get older, you can explain more and more and more. This is the era that I lived in. This is the time period. So if you're uncomfortable with this, and I'm not uncomfortable with that, is because I grew up in this type of environment. This is the class I grew up in. You know, and compared to the class you grew up in, because sometimes you got to let them know that you're different because you're, parents. You're the parent, they're the child. That's a different segment in itself. But you also got to tell them you might be different because you had you had different experiences. Y'all might not even be from the same. You grew up in this city, but the child was, is born in this city. You grew up in this time period, but they're being raised in this time period. So things don't, translate sometimes, or they don't. I'm not gonna. Yeah, it's hard to translate because people don't have a common ground sometimes. So you build a foundation so you can build that common ground to know that we're different. There's a hierarchy, but this is not just who I am as a parent. This is who I am as a person. You know, and don't forget that I'm the parent, but don't forget this is me as a person. And you got to tell them the good, bad, and ugly. You got to tell them your successes. You got to tell them your failures. you know, you got to tell them your good decisions. You got to tell them your bad decisions. You know, because if you don't, you're gonna cripple them in some ways. Then, excuse me, excuse me. When you're building a foundation, it's like sometimes you have to give them culture shock, because in different there's different cultures in different regions. Um, me, I was born in New Orleans, but I grew up in New Orleans. I grew up a little bit in the DMV, which is DC, Maryland, Virginia, for those who don't know, and I spent some of my most formative years on the west side of Chicago. So I had to explain, like, why I'm comfortable with this culture in the South, and why I'm comfortable with a culture on the East, and why I'm comfortable, with a certain thing in the Midwest, because they're different regions and they're different cultures, different music, different foods, different events. You know, Mardi Gras, the taste of Chicago is completely different. You know what I mean? Homecoming and but homecoming week in DC is completely different than in Chicago or New Orleans, even though New Orleans is kind of a college town too. Chicago is too, but it's just different. There's a different energy in the cities. There's a different, like I said, there's different food in the cities. There are different demographics of people in different cities. So this town might be more black. This town might be white, black, Italian, no, white, black, Hispanic, white, black, Asian. You get what I'm saying? Or in different forms of it. You might have Chicago's very segregated. So I'm explaining this using myself on this one. Chicago's a segregated city. So, you black part, white part, Hispanic part, Asian part. Then there's going to be like Italian part, Greek part, Polish part. It's separated like that. New Orleans has, you might be on this side. Everybody meets in kind of in the middle, but in the surrounding areas. But the segregation is kind of rich people over here, everybody else over here. You get what I mean? And then you have the black part, white part, and the Asian part used to be. I think it still is all the way out in the east. So, but it's a different culture, different food, different music, different people, and sometimes you introduce the relationships, the dynamic sometimes through the cultures and the food. They step over here. Stepping is a dance. They step up here. They second line down here. They do go and house over here, but they do house music over here too. So you start introducing different musics, different cultures, different events, and you get them um, involved to go. Okay, this is why this is my upbringing. This is what I really gravitate to. Same thing with the food. Some people like the pizza, the pasta, the gumbo, you know um, the wings and fries, the rib tips, the pizza puffs, the the seafood boils, the crabs. Like is it yakimine? Sometimes I don't say it right. Yakimine. um, that whole different dynamic, because now you can infuse that in the household. And like, we trying this, we trying this, we trying this. We might have jambalaya, uh, different pastas and whatnot. Grits, different. Some people eat grits. Some people eat cream of wheat. I don't know how y'all do that cream of wheat stuff, but whatever. But that's part of the culture of building a foundation. Let them know you and know different facets of you, your favorite artists, your favorite movies, your favorite shows, your favorite genres, why you like your grade school and high school and maybe possibly college so much. Introduce them to you in different facets so they know who you are in totality. you know because if you don't, and they don't know you, they make up who you are. Because sometimes if you don't know a person, you make up their morals, you make up their ethics, you make up their principles, and people can say they're this and they're that, but when you show them who you actually are, they'll know. Yeah, possibly doing this. No, doesn't do that. They know all of those little intricate details. Plus, some people have allergies and medical things going on in their family, so you know we got to let them know. Well, if you go to the doctor, this could be possible, this could be possible, this could be possible because of this over here. Because sometimes even with medical history, they only know one side. The kids only know one side of the family's medical history, and that's usually to their detriment. So build a foundation. You know, build upon that, build upon the different cultures, build upon your upbringing. Show them a lot of different things that you yourself participate in. Sometimes you might like boxing, wrestling, jujitsu, whatever. Bring them with you. Football, basketball, baseball. Bring them to wrestling, professional wrestling. Well, WWE type stuff. Do those things and recreate the experiences that you fell in love with as a kid, that you know brought that you carried into your adulthood. See if you can give them that same experience, because sometimes they don't know, like certain books, certain, Shakespeare, um, certain things with science, like everything is on the table, everything. So let them, build a foundation, as best you can. Excuse me. Because part of it is unorthodox. I have to say that, because there's a way that you have to parent sometimes in an unorthodox manner. You might have to, you, you'll be on the phone, and if they take the phone away, you might have to buy a video game system, and y'all become, players on a video game, so you play each other to actually have a conversation. And some of you ladies, that's why y'all be getting rid of these video games, but whatever. Or you might have to parent in spurts. When I might have to parent you through boxing. I might have to parent you through football. I might have to parent you, through science. You know, just the reactions of things, so you can know how life actually works. I'm gonna have to parent you through principles. These are the principles to go by. I'm gonna have to introduce you to religion, different religions. Christianity, Islam, Judaism. Some people like Buddhism, whatever. So you introduce them to things. You introduce them to, history, mythology, and why it intrigues you, in art. You know, Parent in unorthodox manners, because sometimes you teach a skill and it helps you parent. You like teach them how to fix a car. Learn how to bond, doing things like that, because they're going to need the skills. They're going to need the information. The one thing that you have as a parent that your child needs is information about you and about life. So build a foundation that you can do both. And as time and as they grow mentally, because sometimes they could be young and they can catch on real fast, and they're super smart. And sometimes you gotta, slow walk them. But either way, just stay the course on that. Just stay the course on that. And with that, I'm gonna end, and we'll get to the next, video. You ever been at the top of the universe? I'm gonna take you.